Welcome to the Best Little Town Podcast, your go-to source for everything happening in the town of Bedford's local government. Whether it's new initiatives or important decisions shaping our town's future, you'll hear it right here. Brought to you by Grove Street FM and hosted by Town Manager Bart Warner. This podcast is dedicated to keeping our residents informed and engaged.
Hello, good morning, and welcome to the Best Little Town podcast, brought to you by the town of Bedford. My name is Bart Warner. I'm the town manager, and we welcome you to this episode, which is designed to provide a deep dive into the background information of council matters which were discussed at the most recent meeting, which occurred last night, Tuesday, May 28th. And without further ado, we will jump into the agenda and provide more details about what transpired. At the beginning of last night's meeting, I reported to council about the storm damage that we did encounter in our community on Sunday evening with the strong thunderstorms that passed through. Fortunately, we didn't see a lot of damage here. Some of our neighbors on the other side of the Blue Ridge particularly were not as fortunate, but we did have an issue affecting our electric utility that I'll just make people aware of. We are connected to the outside world and the power grid through a couple of connection points, one being the Centerville substation and the other is the Mosley substation. Those are the points that connect us to the AEP system. AEP had several outages, and as a result, they had to take the Centerville station offline, which is ordinarily not an issue, but we did have some storm damage to a pole coming from the Mosley substation. The electric department acted quickly to identify this. We did obtain a contractor to stabilize that pole until such time as the Centerville substation returns to service. Long story short, as an electric customer of Bedford, you hopefully did not observe any blip in service, and that's exactly the way we intended. One of the primary values of the town being in the electric business is our dedication to reliability and restoration of service. Right now, in the present business environment, we think we're able to do it at a very competitive rate as well, which is beneficial, but just want to let you know that's why we're here, and we certainly appreciate our colleagues in that department who go out in all kinds of weather to make sure that the light switch works when you turn it on. We did have a couple of appearances before council last night. Ms. Becky Hensley, who is a resident of town, spoke about the decals on the police cruisers and stated her opinion that the "In God We Trust" language should be returned. Mayor Tim Black also recognized the 2023 state champion girls cross-country team from Liberty High School. In addition to reading a proclamation outlining their accomplishments, the town is also adding to its state championship commemorative signs for Liberty High School, and the blank that represents this latest championship was displayed last night and will be added to the sign on East Main Street and the one at the Forks intersection very shortly. In council comments, Councilman Todd Foreman commented on the significance of the Memorial Day holiday and asked us to remember those who lost their lives in defense of our country and its liberties. Councilman Bruce Johansson noted that he attended the recent meeting of the Central Virginia Planning District Commission. At that meeting, the Planning District Commission provided a letter of support for the town's efforts to attract a passenger rail station, specifically through the grant that was mentioned at the last council meeting, and that application which was submitted just yesterday, as a matter of fact. Councilman Darrell Updike noted that he attended the recent meeting of the Bedford Republican Party and answered some questions that they had about some council positions on a few matters. Mayor Tim Black noted that next week on June 6th is the 80th anniversary commemoration of D-Day at the National D-Day Memorial. There will be a major event taking place at 11 o'clock a.m. on Thursday, June 6th. The public is certainly invited, and there will be a large program full of distinguished guests and attendees there. There are also several other events in connection with the observance of the events from 80 years ago. You're encouraged to check out their website at www.dday.org for more information. Mayor Black also noted that he attended an event sponsored by the Bedford International Alliance on Monday afternoon, honoring the Bedford boys. Those would be the young men from our community who were in on the first wave of D-Day, and many of whom lost their lives. 20 in the first day, and I think 8 or 9 in subsequent days related to the event. Moving on to the rest of the agenda, there was a public hearing about proposed tax rates. That basically dealt with the business professional and occupational license, or BPOL tax, as well as the personal property tax for tax year 2025. The town is proposing to keep the personal property tax rates at the same level. There is a proposed change to the BPOL tax, which was addressed later in the agenda. Currently, businesses pay a rate of 10 cents per $100 of their gross sales, and that applies to businesses with gross sales of $3 million and above. The proposal for next year is to lower that standard to businesses with $2 million in sales and above, and actually add a second category for businesses that have sales beyond that. More details will be forthcoming in just a minute, as that was addressed later in the agenda. There was no one who appeared to speak at the public hearing. Mr. Shang Stanley had submitted an email previously, which was noted and entered into the official record for the meeting. The next item of business was a presentation from Jonathan Buttram, who is the chairman of the town's Economic Development Authority. He gave a brief update on a couple of initiatives that the EDA has been intrinsically involved in, one of which is the middle school renovation. He noted that appears to be on schedule for the apartments to be open this fall and for the hotel to be open in the following spring. Also, the EDA is instrumental in promoting a new business class hotel that will be a Hampton Inn on Burks Hill. That is scheduled to break ground as planned also. In addition, the EDA has recently sponsored and developed a child care grant program, which provides matching funds up to $15,000 for certified providers of daycare for working families in an effort to assist with our workforce development efforts. The EDA has also recently received a $40,000 grant from the Commonwealth of Virginia for a feasibility study for a small business incubator. The bulk of Mr. Buttram's presentation related to a specific proposal related to the former Winnowa industrial site in town. For those of you who are not familiar, Winnowa, formerly known as Wheelabrator, was an industry in the northwestern quadrant of town, really on the west end, about a quarter mile off 460, that was related to the steel industry. Once upon a time, they employed several people in the manufacture of small shot steel pellets, which were used in brake pad linings and things such as powder coating. Unfortunately, Winnowa ceased operations pretty much concurrently with the COVID emergency in 2020. Since that time, the building has been dormant, and the EDA has been working with Winnowa to obtain the property, and also with Bison Printing, which is a nearby neighbor, to find another use for it. And they have been successful in attracting grant funding and a proposal to redevelop the site as a workforce training center in general, but also a metal fabrication facility. Mr. Buttram noted that there is actually a steel foundry within the facility that is unique to the area and possibly unique to the world. And there are several interested parties in seeing that come to life and be a very productive part of our local economy. The EDA has been working with their partners, has obtained grant funding from the state level, and has attracted partnerships as diverse as Virginia Tech, the local steel industry, and the United States Navy in an effort to revitalize this project. The last remaining issue to be resolved, according to Mr. Buttram, was a sewer pump station on the site that they are currently working to turn over to the Bedford Regional Water Authority. And immediately following Mr. Buttram's presentation, which I would encourage you to watch from our streaming service on youtube.com, on the town's YouTube channel, through our partnership with Media Squatch. Immediately following Mr. Buttram's presentation, Town Council authorized a grant of $40,000 towards this project to upgrade the sewer lift station, which was referenced. Again, this seems to be a last hurdle kind of issue, and hopefully the Bedford Regional Water Authority will take action at its meeting on this coming Thursday. Once that is cleared, the EDA will move forward with the project. The next item of new business was establishing the tax for the upcoming year for business, professional, and occupational licensing, or BPOL. This is a tax that all businesses within town pay. It's basically a license that acknowledges the existence and validity of businesses in town, helps us keep track of who's here and what they're doing, and allows us to assist businesses when they apply for grants or get questions from regulatory authorities about their status within town. The tax consists of a $30 application fee, which is charged to all businesses within town. Then there is a tax that is assessed to each business depending on their level of gross retail sales. The new tax rate, which was approved last night, for any business up under $2 million in gross sales, those businesses would just pay the $30 application fee. For businesses with sales of $2 million through $10 million in gross receipts, their tax rate will be 10 cents per $100. Then for businesses with gross retail sales of $10 million or more, their rate will be 15 cents per $100. And this is a progressive tax system, as the mayor did explain in greater detail. If you have a business and your gross receipts are only $2 million, you only pay the application fee. From $2 to $10 million, on your first $2 million, you only pay the application fee. For your sales between $2 million and $10 million, you would then pay 10 cents per $100. For businesses of $10 million and above, it's the same arrangement. You'll only pay the application fee on the first $2 million. You then pay 10 cents on the range from $2 million to $10 million, and then you only pay 15 cents for $10 million and above. This arrangement was presented and unanimously adopted by council last night. The next item on the agenda was to establish the personal property tax rate for the upcoming calendar year. The personal property tax rate within Bedford is $1.06 per $100 of assessed value for all tangible personal property. There is no change in that from the previous year. The town also has a machinery and tools tax on the books at a rate of 1/1,000,000 of 1 cent per $100 of valuation. Effectively, in most cases, this tax amounts to zero for businesses. Council had discussed the possibility of increasing that tax to improve revenues. However, after receiving some input from the businesses in town and responding to that, council decided not to pursue that. So essentially, the town established its personal property tax rate and its machinery and tools tax rate at the same existing level with no increase, and that was done by a unanimous vote. Council was set to take action on adoption of the budget for fiscal year 24-25 last night. However, there is one remaining element that impacts that, which is a proposed $5 monthly surcharge on electric bills, and that is subject to a public hearing that will be taking place at the next meeting in June. And I believe the date is June 11th. Since that action has not taken place, council deferred action on the overall budget. It is expected that they will take action on that on June 11th after having the public hearing for this proposed electric bill surcharge. The next item of new business related to the town's awarding of a community development block grant for phase 2 of a Hilltop revitalization project. The Hilltop neighborhood is located south of Washington Street, basically bounded by Washington Street and the Susie Gibson Center for Technology and Career Education. The town recently completed the first phase of a redevelopment project there, in which 13 homes were rehabilitated or rebuilt. Those grants are awarded through the Virginia Department of Housing and Community Development, and the success of that project was such that they encouraged us to pursue a second phase in which 11 homes would be rehabilitated. In response to that, the town has received a grant of $1,071,644 for that purpose, and town council had to authorize several administrative and candidly bureaucratic processes associated with that. That was also done last night by a unanimous vote. The final item of new business was a discussion of digital signs. This is an issue that council has talked about before, but the technology and the availability of new materials and marketing methods for signage is something that we probably have not stayed abreast of in terms of our regulations. Currently, the town allows digital signs, and these are computerized signs that change their display at a regular interval, only on street or highway corridors with a speed of 45 miles an hour or more. It was discussed that there are several businesses and quite a few churches who are interested in pursuing signage of this type. And Councilman Darrell Updike presented a few ideas as to how that may be handled. Some of the things they discussed were the impact of these on neighborhoods and historic areas. It is proposed that if we do allow greater usage of these signs, that they would not be allowed within National Register historic districts, and that they also be compatible with B1 zoning. B1 is the category of zoning that we typically apply to the Centertown area. Even where these signs would be proposed to be permitted, they would be subject to the conditional use process in residential districts or the B1 zoning district. That essentially means that folks who would like to have these kinds of signs in these districts must go through a public process, which includes public hearing and review by the Planning Commission before final action taken by town council. The other thought was that in our zoning districts, which are B2, which is kind of our highway commercial district, or our more intense districts, that these could be allowed by right. Council also discussed the process for considering the changes that would be necessary to the zoning ordinance as part of town code to make this happen, and ultimately decided to refer the matter to the Planning Commission for further discussion. And that concluded the business aspect of town council's activities last night. A lot of random and interesting, at least to us, we think, things going on from an administrative sense. We also notice quite a bit more traffic, a lot of new visitors coming to our community. Some of that's seasonal. Summer is upon us, and we're all enjoying the opportunity to get out ourselves, but we're also seeing some new folks come into town, and some of those are new neighbors, which we encourage you to get to know and to welcome. And if you're one of those people, we're glad you're here. And if you're listening to this and have not been to Bedford before, we would certainly encourage you to come check us out. Again, the title of this podcast, Best Little Town, comes from our motto and mantra of Bedford being the world's best little town. That's something that we take seriously, something we strive to be, and hopefully it is something we accomplish on several levels on a daily basis. Till next time, I thank you very much for your time and attention to this podcast. We thank you very much for your input. Again, if you ever have any questions or concerns, The main telephone number at Town Hall is 540-587-6001. You can email me directly. Mine, again, is Bart Warner. My email is bwarner at bedfordva.gov. And if you just want to stop by, the municipal building is located at 215 East Main Street. It is open during regular business days on Monday through Friday from 8:30 a.m. to 5 o'clock p.m. Again, we thank you for your participation in our community. We hope you'll let us know how we can continue to serve you. Let us know how we can improve. And I hope you enjoy good health, good weather, and an enjoyable beginning to the summer.